Welcome back to a new episode of the What's New Mama podcast. We are your hosts, Amy and Giselle. And this episode, we're going to be talking about breastfeeding, baby-led weaning, and everything in between.
Yeah. There's a lot of, the formula feeding, combo feeding, and all that stuff. So
baby food, everything. Yeah. A little bit of everything. We don't want to exclude anything.
Making your own food. I know. Making your own food, buying it, So I know Amy's kind of passionate about this topic, so I'm going to have her kind of lead the way on this, and then I'll jump in and talk about it too. I'm
passionate about this topic.
I don't know. You pitched it, so I felt
like breastfeeding, I think it's important for people to understand that doesn't come naturally to many women. It's something that shouldn't be forced. If you feel uncomfortable doing it, if it bothers you, if it hurts, I just want to make it clear that it's okay to feed your baby formula as soon as they come out of your vagina. Like, it's fine. It's you.
Your belly.
You making the decision. It's a lot of pressure. It's stressing, adding more stress to how you feel. You're already tired as is from whatever it is that you went through. And I just want to make it clear, breastfeeding is great. It's good if you can do it.
And on top of that, when you're mentioning like breastfeeding and all that stuff, like even if you are getting the hang of it and it's going well, the mental load of it, that's a whole different ballgame because your hormones are all out of whack. And you're not getting a period because you're breastfeeding, and whether you're breastfeeding full time or not. So that impacts, right, the imbalance in your hormones. So what I would say, and like I know I mentioned it before, is that even though, let's say you do have good flow, but you feel like mentally it's affecting you because you're depressed, you're anxious, or whatever it might be, you have to make that decision, and you don't have to prove it to anybody else. Like, you have to do what's right for you.
We talked about this maybe, I don't know, a couple episodes ago. Also, we mentioned it. I know that with us texting, even with Jess, we mentioned about how we didn't feel right. Like, the letdown was a very strange sensation.
You and Jess had a very specific, a very unique experience, which you found out wasn't unique at all. Like, there's other moms out there that felt that way. And it was when you had that letdown, what did you feel?
I don't know. It was just, I used to get nauseous, and I wouldn't be able to eat, or I was just like, ugh, like, can this like hurry up? Like, I guess it was like a kind of like a dreading feeling. I don't know. It's weird.
No. Yeah.
So,
well, I know with Jess, it was like a gloom, dark, like, feeling.
Like impending doom, I was like, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't feel that. I felt nauseous. I felt a little like sick just right before the letdown, or like while that was happening. And then after that, I was fine.
They say it's supposed to happen so very like a couple times. It takes like a while for your body to get used to it. But I felt like I felt it all the time. all the time. And I did it for 2 years with the last one. So it's like, you know, it was a strange feeling.
It's funny you mentioned that. I completely forgot about that. Tom would ask me like, hey, like, I'm ordering food. What do you want to eat? And I'm like, I'm pumping right now.
I don't even want to talk about food.
I can't eat. I don't want to talk about food. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. And it just became like a thing. And looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That happened to me almost every time. And I was actually speaking with my cousin the other day, and she's in the middle of it right now. She has a 2-month-old. And she was telling me, she's like, have you ever felt like an electric shock from like your nipple to like, your armpit area, like right over here? Cause you have glands here too that are making milk.
Hear my story about those glands.
Yeah. Okay. So, which I didn't know. Right. And I was like, I went through that. It felt like, cause I got lightning crotch. Did you ever get lightning crotch?
Second one.
Okay. So I got that, but that's what my boob felt. So like whenever it felt like a pulling, but like a slight, when you were a kid and you would put your tongue on the D batteries. I did that. I don't know about you, but I did that. It felt like a little electrical shock. I got creative as a kid. But it felt like I had this ongoing electrical shock, and it hurt, but I still had the flow. So I would still keep going. But we were talking about that too. And I was like, I forgot about this too. It's just so crazy, the crap that we go through. And we're like, oh, we'll do it again.
I know.
Maybe we'll do it again. But yeah, no. So wait, so you were saying about the glands?
Oh yeah, I didn't know we had glands up there until I started secreting milk from my armpit. It was probably the nastiest thing ever. And I was like, ew, what's going on? And this happened with Sienna the first time. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? I actually had the size of a nipple under my underarm grow out. It looked like a nipple. Like, and you could tell where the milk was coming out. And I was like, ew, this is so disgusting. Like, what is this? Like, why do I have a third nipple? This is gross. Like, am I an alien? I was like, I had to ask the doctor, and he was like, no, it sometimes happens with women of color. And it is a thing that, you know, you guys have. And I was like, it's predominant with women of color that you get like a nipple under your thing. So I would be like, if I'd be sweating a lot, it'll secrete milk. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I used to have to put like tissue under there. And it eventually,
like a pad, like a,
I guess,
one of those.
You know, I didn't use it to feed the baby. It stopped going up that way and it would come back down. So luckily I didn't have any problems with that. But then with Milo, that happened again. And I ended up getting like cysts down there. And I think it was because it just hardened. I'm not sure, but they had to operate and had to take it out. And so like squeeze it out or whatever. So yeah, I was just like, this is gross, but apparently it's common with women of color. So I don't know if you're out there, let me know in the comments if you had an extra titty in your underarm. Because it's strange. It's super strange. Yeah. And
so like, did you do any special massages?
I would try to like in the bath, bring it, just like move this over under back to the boob kind of thing, because I mean I didn't get like mastitis or any of that, thankfully. Good, because I would feel it start to harden up, and I was just like, my mom would tell me put like warm compress on it and massage it and it should go away, and it would. So I would catch it just before it got worse.
Did you ask your mom if she went through that?
Had like an extra nipple? No.
No, like, you know, because
I'm okay. This is one thing you need to know. My mom, very upfront. She's like, she has like zero filter. She will tell you everything straight up. She doesn't care who you are. No, she told me she tried breastfeeding with us and it just never took. But then just like hearing her story, she actually had postpartum depression and she didn't know. I don't think she still realizes that she had that. Just by like hearing stories from my dad and my grandma and even my sister, because my sister was she was 9 years old when I came about. So she used to see my mom and she's like, you know, just us like talking about it. We think she had postpartum depression, so it never kind of stuck with the breastfeeding. She just went straight to formula with both of us, me and my younger sister.
A happy mom is better than a stressed out mom. You got to do, the baby's going to get fed no matter what. Right. So, but yeah, no, that's I've seen pictures of,
that was strange.
Of that. And my friend told me, and I followed an account and they were like, look out for this. And so I would look out for it, but I will say what happened to me, which I don't know if it happened to you or other moms. I was sweating like crazy. Like I was, and my body odor went like through the roof, like after pregnancy. And apparently that's like a normal thing. Because of just like the hormones and all that stuff. Like I remember at that point I did try regular deodorant because I know you mentioned it before.
I got desperate too.
And it didn't work.
Same thing.
I tried Dove, Degree, clinical strength, regular. Nothing worked. And I was like, I guess I'm just going to have to keep on
wiping it down,
washing, you know, and wiping it down. But it was bad. It was really bad. Problem. So that's another thing to look out for. Do you think that was exclusive to the fact that we were breastfeeding, or did that happen to you even when we weren't breastfeeding?
I don't remember with the first. I mean,
Sienna. Okay.
I did breastfeed her up to a certain point. You know, I tried the pumping and breastfeeding, and that took me like 3 months before we actually, because she actually lost a lot of weight. She was getting a little sickly looking. So I was like, no, you have to give her formula.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to think if I did sweat a lot. No, I think it was mostly for the second time around with Milo when I did. Yeah, it was
with the breastfeeding.
I
also, speaking of, because, you know, they say that you lose weight when you breastfeed. I was the opposite. I couldn't lose any weights while I was breastfeeding. And the minute I stopped was when, because I was working out, I was doing yoga, like, you know, like I'm a fitness like freak. So I knew what to do. And I would do these things and I'm like, I'm working out, I'm eating right. Why is this not coming off? And I'm pumping breastfeeding all day. So it was the opposite. But the minute I stopped, I lost like 3 pounds right away, 5 pounds right away. And I was like, oh, so I'm in the minority group.
The opposite happened. I was super skinny with the breastfeeding.
Yeah, the breastfeeding.
And I was like, I was shedding weight, and it was kind of getting a little worrisome because they were like, especially my mom was like, that baby's sucking the life out of you. Like, can you just stop like breastfeeding him already? And then the minute I stopped, I actually gained some weight. I'm back to my normal scheduled program here. Yeah, I had the opposite. So that's funny that you say it, that you did it, and that you had a hard time.
And apparently it's like, I think it
depends on your body and also how much you consume. Because I felt like I was hungry all the time when I was breastfeeding.
I wasn't really that hungry.
Starving, so it means I wasn't getting enough to get in to put out. So it was just like, I was eating. I was surprised because I was like, I'm eating all the time. What are you talking about? I'm hungry all the time. So,
but you're just putting it all out.
Yeah. So I think it just depends on everybody's body.
I think it's like the genetics, you know, your body, like we discussed in previous episodes, your body is different than mine and the way that it works and blah, blah, blah. So it's just what it is. But I just remember like when I would go to doctors and like other people and I'm like, I can't lose this weight and I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm doing everything. I'm working out, whatever. And they're like, but are you breastfeeding? Shouldn't you be? And I was like, I don't know. And then that didn't help my mental state because then it was like, then am I doing something wrong? Everything would revert back to, am I doing something wrong here? But you know, again, like after that was when I was able to lose the weight. So if you are a mom out there and you're breastfeeding and you're having these thoughts of, well, these celebrities are breastfeeding and they're saying that's helping them lose the weight and whatever it is, and you're not, it could be because you're in that other side of it where it's the opposite effect for you, which was the case for me. But yeah, that was interesting. That was very interesting. And then baby-led weaning, like trying to I didn't have that option, right? Because I had to stop. But even the transition to stop milk production was difficult in itself because I still had to pump and dump. I still had to, because if not, I would get mastitis and it would get like engorged and it would just be very, very like hard. It felt like I had like, what I would assume would be like when you get breast implants at first, like it just felt really hard and like foreign. It felt like there was a foreign substance in my breast and I didn't know what it was. But how did you go about
to stop?
Weaning?
I took tea. There's a no flow tea from the stork. Some stork thing is like a pink tea thing, and like I took that tea, and you're supposed to take it like 3 times a day or something. And
do you know what the active like ingredient is?
I don't remember if it's I don't remember if it was raspberry or something gross.
I heard about red raspberry.
Something gross, but it tasted okay. So I took that, and that actually cut me off the first day. Like I started, it worked. It worked, and I took it for like a whole week consecutively, and I was fine. I didn't have any problem. Like I would wear like sports bra that would tighten me up a little bit. So it wouldn't have the room to expand, you can't take warm showers too much because then, whatever. So
yeah, that'll help with the flow. Okay. Yeah, no, I did the sports bras.
Did you do, was it cabbage leaves? Someone told me cabbage leaves.
I did cabbage leaves. I also bought a cream on Amazon that was like made of the extract, like pure cabbage extract, because the cabbage leaves stink. Like I was walking around, like I remember Tom would be like trying to like get into the mood and shit, and I'm like, I have cabbage leaves in my bra right now, and it smells like fart, like literally because of the sulfur. Because of the sulfur, which is the active ingredient that like stops it. And he's like, all right, I guess. But I ended up getting the cream because that was much more easier. and you just have to like reapply the cream. I didn't have to keep the freaking cabbage in the fridge, change it out multiple times in the day. So if I remember correctly, it took me, I would say 4 days, like really to kind of like not pump anymore. And that moment that I put away the pump, I felt so sad. I felt so sad. Like I knew it was over, obviously, because I was already taking the medication for my mental health and all that stuff. And I knew I wasn't giving him milk. And we had the milk in the freezer and all that stuff. But to put away the pump in storage in a bin, it was like, that's it. It's over. Like it's done. So I had to go through that like process mentally, but I was using the baby cook, duo thing to steam and make the purees and all that stuff. I started, with the baby led weaning. I started with avocado, sweet potatoes, and then like kale and spinach and like mixing it all in and pear. But really the first thing I gave him was avocado. And he
Did you have any issues with like when you would give him stuff, like you would see him kind of gag and you would freak out? Because I know that's a big issue with like the baby led weaning. A lot of people don't like it because you see him kind of like struggling. This is just them like practicing.
That's them learning their mouth.
So it's like you shouldn't be scared, but I totally get it. And I've like seen people who are like, well, I can't deal with it, so I'm just gonna go back to purees. And that happened to me with Milo the second time, because it was like I was seeing him eat and I was just like, oh my god, this is too much and I was just like, no, I'm just gonna give you puree. And I would switch it out and I'd just give him like the little pouches that he could squeeze out or whatever and eat, because it was just scary for me the second time around.
It's stressful. Unnecessary stress. But it's funny because I started at like 5 months and they were like, start with cereal. He did not want cereal at all. And I was like, I'm not going to waste this breast milk here, like that I'm over here pumping and doing all this work for him to be like, I don't like this shit. So it was like, all right, let me try actual food. So I would give him the avocado, put a little bit of like garlic and like a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of pepper. And he loved it. Loved it. But the gagging and the choking and like, no, not the choking. He wasn't choking, but the gagging freaked me out because it triggered. I wasn't over the whole RSV experience that we went through. So seeing him like struggle, I would tell Tom, I was like, I know I'm supposed to do this. And him, Tom too, he was like, we know this is the normal part of his development, but it was hard. It was really hard. So I did a mix of both. I did semi-solids, right? And then purees, because I couldn't just do it one way the whole way. I know. Because I also needed to deal with my own internal triggers with my postpartum anxiety due to the RSV thing. So that was my process. Yeah,
I did the same thing.
Did you do that too?
Mix, because I was just like, oh my God, this is scary. I mean, I went to, I did CPR class before I had both the kids. Because I was like, if something happens to my baby, I want to be able to not panic, take it easy, and be able to do CPR the Heim, like whatever it is that it's needed at the moment. So I learned all that stuff. And even then I was just like, I can't watch them eat this. Like, it's just like, I don't know, it was just too much. So I would just switch out whenever, whatever. But if I would see him struggling, I just take it away and give him something else. Is what I would do. With Sienna, I don't remember. I'm just like, I feel like I used to give her a lot of cereal and stuff, and she would eat it. And again, she doesn't eat shit now.
Do you feel that you with Milo, you gave him more like seasoned things and all of that stuff, as opposed to like, you know how they say start with bland? Like how did you do?
I gave him, they try to tell you to start with vegetables, because you shouldn't be giving them like
as opposed to
sweet stuff, because then they that's all they're gonna want, kind of thing. I was like, screw it, I'm giving him the sweet stuff, because I'm not gonna give you the vegetables, besides the fact that it stinks like hell when it comes out your butthole afterwards. I was just like, this is gross. Just
oh my God, can we talk about the difference in poop though between breast milk formula and like when they start the baby led weaning with the purees and all that stuff?
That's like next level. I don't know how we even stomach changing all that stuff. It was like either really yellow, really green, or somewhere in between, right? And it's always like pasty looking, gross.
It's liquidish, with the breastfeeding, but then once they start eating the food, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this smells like a garbage dump.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, is it because mostly when I was breastfeeding, I was like, I wonder if it's okay that it stinks this way. But it's because, anything you consume, it goes,
Yeah.
I mean, does it really go to your breast milk? Some of it does. It's, it's just like gross, gross, disgusting when it would come out. I was just like, ew, this is gross. And I would ask the doctor. She was like, it's fine. Totally fine, because I would take a picture and I'll show it to her. And I'm like, is this normal?
Yeah.
Like, really? And it's like, oh yeah, it's supposed to look like a mustardy. And I was like, great, now I can't eat mustard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But like, did you watch what you ate too? Because garlic, broccoli, all these things cause gas.
My mom was like, don't eat broccoli, don't eat this, don't eat that. But it's like, there was also studies that are like, it's saying that you're supposed to eat your normal diet. I've seen that where it's like, don't refrain from eating it. But if you see that your baby like actually struggling with gas or anything like that, I had
a big issue with that with Derek.
What did I cut out? Dairy. I had to cut out dairy because he was getting like rashes and he was
the eczema.
Yeah, and that was like really bad. So I was just like, you know what? I'll cut that out. So I couldn't do dairy for a while actually. So I think that kept me. It kept my skin clear too, because I love cheese.
Gotcha. All I ate was cheese. That's my best friend. Like, but I had to cut it out.
I couldn't do broccoli either. Yeah, he was very fussy, and I don't know if it's a boy thing because Sienna wasn't fussy. She didn't have that.
But you said you
problem.
did you did more formula
for the
with her.
I did like maybe 3 months with breastfeeding with her, but I was alternating with formula. Like within maybe the first 3 weeks that she was born, we were just alternating because it took a toll on me. I was stressed out because I was still getting phone calls from work, even though
Gotcha.
I was on maternity leave. My mom was here. She wasn't quite helpful after a while. It was like, after a couple days, what they say that they start to...
You're like, so are you going home
I didn't
yet?
want to tell her to go away because I had it under control, but she wanted to be here, but she wasn't being helpful and other things. Like she had always, comments. That was stressing me out and I just couldn't produce the milk. And she was, like I told you, she was starting to lose weight. So I was just like, give her formula. And then we just stuck with formula. Eventually I just phased it out because I couldn't even keep pumping. It wasn't sustainable for me that first time.
Do you feel that there was a difference in pressure from outside factors, meaning like the doctor, the nurse, the lactation consultant, from your first pregnancy to your second pregnancy on breastfeeding?
The second one, they wouldn't even let me use formula. It's like they took it out of the cart. The cart that we had in the room, they took it out. They were like, we're going to send you the consultant. She's going to help you. She actually did, which was great. She figured out it was just a latch issue because he kept crying and he wouldn't go to sleep. And she helped me figure it out, which was strange. Some stranger coming up and just grabbing your tit.
It's just like,
and she's like, put it here. I'm like, okay. She's like, if it's okay. But she did ask, is it okay for me to touch you?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, go ahead, whatever. Everybody's touched me by this point.
But
the second time, I feel like they were more into like, let's try it. Keep trying. It's okay. See, you are producing milk. Because I started crying because I was like, I'm not producing anything. She's like, yeah, you are. And she showed me, and then I was like, oh shit, I am producing milk. And she was like, just squeeze some out, and we'll feed it to him in a spoon. And that's what we did, like the colostrum or whatever. And so it worked out the second time. But the first time, the lactation consultant never showed up to my room.
So they were just like, here you go, here's your formula. Bye.
She was eating. I was giving her something. I knew because she would fall asleep after I would breastfeed her. But I don't know. The second time around was like, go ahead. You have to try it. So I don't know what changed because it was the same hospital. So I'm not sure what changed. You hear these dogs? That means the kids are back. He got excited.
That sounded like somehow from like a movie, a horror movie or something.
He's happy. He sees them in the window. Yeah. That means the kids are back.
Gotcha. No, I that's why I asked, because I know that there's been a shift towards the push towards breastfeeding and all that stuff. When I'm like, dude, but what about the mental health of the mom? Like, if she can't breastfeed, or if the it's just too much, then why are we being
Yeah.
pressured to feel like this is the best way?
They
And if you don't do this,
they
then you're
also
wrong.
had, for me, they had like a couple weeks before I gave birth, I had to do like an intake form for the hospital, and they ask
Okay.
you there, do you
Oh yeah,
want
they did
to
ask.
do
Yeah.
breastfeeding or combo or just formula once you have the baby? And it's kind of like,
Okay.
why would you? I'm thinking, why are you going to ask me a couple weeks before? Because my mind
Yeah.
might change. My mind might change by the time I have the baby, because I might feel more exhausted for some reason.
Also, you don't know what kind of birth experience you're going
Exactly.
to have, to the point, like, what if the baby goes to the NICU or like anything like that, anything, right? And you're just like, I can't even think of
Yeah.
breastfeeding right now
That's what I'm
because
saying.
I have
That's
all
why I
these
was
other
like,
things
why
to
are you
worry about.
asking me so many weeks in advance if my mind might change when I'm there? Like
Yeah.
the
That was the second time or the first time?
both
Or
times they
both?
ask you.
Oh, same
Same hospital,
hospital.
they
Yeah, yeah,
ask
yeah.
you. But I feel like the first time they were very like, they didn't really look at my intake form for some reason. Like, she's like, "Oh, did you fill this out?" And I was like, "Yes, I did. If you didn't get it, I don't know, what do you want me to tell you?" Like, I
Yeah.
did what I
Yeah.
had to do. I remember
Yeah.
having an issue with that nurse, because I was just like, "What's with the attitude?" Like, I get it. I was like, I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like asking you weeks in advance is kind of like not taking into consideration what may happen at the time that you're giving birth. So
Yeah. 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 That's like if you're asking somebody like 3 weeks ahead, hey, do you want an epidural
yeah,
or do you not want an
yeah,
epidural? And then the time of you're like, well, you checked off this
yeah. Like,
box
I
and you
said
didn't want
no. I was
this.
saying no, but then at the last minute, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it, because I can't. I'm like, I
Yeah.
couldn't feel it, but
Yeah.
then it was too late for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. But it is interesting, the shift of the pressure between, like, back then, if formula was the norm. Like, when I speak to other moms, I even asked, like, so Tom's mom, my mother-in-law, she was a nurse and or an LP or something along those lines. But we were talking about just like overall, like, what was your birth experience like? She said that back then, which was obviously like decades ago, but they gave her something right away, an injection or something, a medicine of some sort, to stop the lactation immediately. Right? Like, that was just like the norm. And that was a completely normal thing to give to new moms. And she's like, I don't think they do that anymore. And I'm like, no, I don't think that that's like
that's not a
something
thing
that's
anymore.
legal.
Yeah.
But she was like, yeah, no, breastfeeding wasn't a thing. And she gave birth naturally, like at the hospital. She didn't do epidural or any of that. So she was like, that was just the norm. But then here we are shifting towards like all these new things. And that I'm curious to know, like, what's it going to be like when our kids
To
get
that
to this
stage, yeah.
stage, if they get to the stage. Like, what's the shift going to be like? Are they going to talk to us and be like, I can't believe that they had you guys this way when we do it this way now? It's just so crazy. Like, it's just the same thing as parenting styles. Like, the expectation is different now than it was back then. But yeah, I don't know. I had a good
Yeah.
experience with the lactation consultant. But again, she asked me, she was like, oh, like, can I, I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. You're the expert. And then she was like manhandling, but in a gentle way. But like, she's like, you got to squeeze. You can't be scared. And she's like, you have glands here. So you got to push from here and do all this. And I was like, do I? So like, she explained this whole thing. And she's like, yeah, she's like, we don't talk about this enough and blah, blah, blah. But I was bawling, crying the whole time because I was like, I'm not producing enough milk. She's like, she explains to me, she's like, their stomach is this tiny.
Like, yeah.
So the little drops of colostrum that you're pushing out, like that is enough. And your milk, that's another thing. Did they tell you that? Like, your milk won't kick in till like
Yeah, like
days
3
later.
4 days or something like that.
Yeah. She even told me 5, 6 days later sometimes. And that's not including if you had like an earlier birth or, something that wasn't aligned with the due date.
Exactly. But then my thing is like 7 days. Okay. But what about the baby? Aren't they hungry? I mean, the stomach might be small, but
I know.
like,
I know.
that doesn't quite like make sense to me a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. So then for me, it was like, all right, more pressure for me to pump, latch and do all this stuff. So I was going crazy those first 2 weeks that I felt like, oh my God, is it me? Like, I know friends of mine and I see all these Instagram accounts with a deep freezer, like
I don't know
of just
about those
milk
ladies. I'm like, are you
production.
cows on the down low?
How do you do this? Like, how do you do? No, seriously. And like, Tom's like, Giselle, stop looking at this. Like, it's not helpful to you right now. Like, and like, I would call my friend Giselle and like, she would talk me off the ledge. She's like, listen, you're doing what you can. Like, this is normal. But I think for people that don't know that and have this expectation of what they see on Instagram of having that deep freezer,
I never
plus their
had
regular
that deep freezer, even with the second one. And I was feeding him all the time, straight from the boob. That's about it, because I couldn't even bring myself to pump. Because it was annoying.
Gotcha.
Just hearing that sound and feeling it, it was just, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I tried and I couldn't do it. And I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So
all of the videos and pictures, well, the videos that I took of Derek, like around that time, you hear the pump in the background. It sounds like a cat purring. It's like, brr. No, it's like, brr, brr. Like that's the sound that it would make. And I'm like, man, I didn't even think, like that it would catch it. But all those videos from the early weeks, it's all that. But leading into the baby-led weaning and like the purees, the semi-solids, all that stuff, one app that helped me a lot, and Instagram account that helped me a lot is called Solid Start.
Yes.
Have you heard of it?
Her,
okay.
Yes.
Because in the app, they show you like if it's, 6 months, 9 months, it shows you how to cut things, how to cook it. It tells you, when you can introduce certain things. Granted, in my house, like I'm going to cook things, not just bland. If I'm giving him brown rice, beans or whatever, I'm putting garlic, I'm putting onion, I'm putting all these things, the seasoning in it, the flavor in it, which I think has helped now because he's not picky yet. I know that they go through another phase once they hit 3 and so on. But that was really helpful because it set it so that it's realistic for me to follow, as opposed to some fancy ass meal that I'm like, I can't keep up with that. I'm barely showering and like brushing my teeth. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Did you have that?
No, I did. Like, I follow the same Instagram person.
Solid Starts. Yeah.
And the seasoning thing, of course, I seasoned everything because I feel like that's a cultural thing. Like they got to get used to the food that we eat. So it's like if I use like salt, pepper, garlic, whatever, that's what you're going to get. And that's what you're going to taste and you're going to like it because that's what we're going to eat forever. But otherwise, I didn't think I did anything fancy. But that app definitely worked because I know I had tons of questions like, oh, well, how big am I supposed to give these pieces to them? I know like big for when you first start because, that way it doesn't go down.
They can hold it.
And they can chew on it, nibble it, whatever, do whatever they need to do. And then it just progressively starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so, they're eating like small things, which is sad when you start seeing them actually eat.
Oh my God, the freaking mess. Did you let them eat on their own?
And every time we did, I was just like,
I could not do that. I did it like twice and I was like, I can't do this shit. The whole floor was filthy. He would need a bath afterwards.
Yeah, I know people who do that with their kids and they actually learned how to use like utensils pretty quickly. That way.
Well, I know that there's a huge advantage. I couldn't. I did a combo. Like I would put the plate there and like I would load the spoon or the fork and give it to him.
That's what I
would. But I wasn't going to let him try and do it.
I know I did that with yogurt, I believe, with Sienna the first time, and it was everywhere. I was like, nope, not doing this again. So I did the spoon loading, and I would give it to them.
Yeah.
She had a harder time. I don't know if it was because her eye, and because she wore glasses at like 9 months of 1 year old. So she had problems like feeding herself. She would always miss. But she finally, she's a little barbarian still. She'll eat like with her hands. But Milo, he picked up on it pretty quickly with a spoon. So now you see him and you'll see him grabbing it and dunking it in his mouth any way he can. So it's great. It's great to see like the development as they go on. How about Derek? Is he there yet? Like, Is he eating with the
Oh,
spoon
yeah.
and thing? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And like, he's the same way. He's
Yeah,
like,
and anyway, and if it starts falling off, you
like,
see him like shoveling it and putting it.
if it falls off, he still has the spoon and still doing that. Uses the other hand to
Yeah.
grab what fell.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But when I started, one of the techniques that Solid Starts, the IG page helped me like with, because they're like, listen, you can give them a spoon to hold to kind of keep them, focused, and then the other spoon
Food,
with the
yeah.
food. And that helped because Derek would get distracted, or he would like try and lift the bowl, like all these things, but that helped me a lot. And so I think having the utensils in his hand got him comfortable early
grabbing
on
them and
with like grabbing them.
and
Yeah.
moving them.
And now I just give him like, toast. I give him the actual piece, bananas. Bananas, I was so scared at
Oh,
first.
because it's so
to give
slimy and slippery. Oh, yeah, that one was the one that would
and they can
scare
like
me the most. Yeah.
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 But now I'm like, he takes the whole banana. He's up, like his whole all cheeks filling out. I was like, "You're
Yeah.
okay?" He's like, just
slow
eating.
down, slow down,
Like,
slow down. Yeah.
yeah,
Because I do that still with mine. Slow down, because you're
Yeah,
choke.
so-
Slow down, relax.
yeah. But I think it's just more stressful for us than them. They're like, yeah, whatever, give it to us. Like, we'll figure it out. Grapes, I'm still kind of like hesitant with.
Because you gotta like
Things
peel
like that.
them and cut them in
them.
4. That's always fun.
Yeah.
What else is there? Carrots, because they're so hard.
You have to soften them up,
so it's
steam
like,
them a little
I'm
bit.
like, that's like an extra step that you have to take to give it to them. What else was there? Apples, I felt like you also have to soften up.
Yep.
But recently he started eating like actual apples, but I cut them real thin because I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to like the unsteamed apples
not yet.
because I'm still paranoid.
You're like, nope, not happening.
No. Pears were really big because they helped them with like
Constipation. Yes.
Yeah. So like I would put pears. Oatmeal was a big hit with him. So I would do oatmeal with chia seeds, flax seeds, like overnight oats. And then I would put almond butter. Sometimes I would put peanut butter. So like I was testing.
I was gonna say, and what about testing the allergies? That's another big thing that I was like, that kept me on edge a little bit, because I'm like, I'm not allergic to that other than like calamari. That's the only thing I'm allergic to. And I'm like, well, I know I'm not allergic to squid at all. I like squid. That's the only thing, but I don't know, if the kids are going to come out with something that they're randomly allergic to, like just testing different things. I've heard people who are allergic to strawberries, and that's scary, because I was like, what if they're allergic to strawberries and I'm giving it to them and then they go into shock? Pineapples also is another one.
I know people that are allergic to pineapples. Yeah. Nut butters are
obviously peanut butter was like,
right?
I was so scared to give them any nuts. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So you know what I would do? I would actually give it to them the day, like a few minutes before we would go to the
doctor.
Because something happens, we're already there.
We're at the doctor. That's actually really smart. Take notes, people. That's a good approach.
I was like,
if you don't know,
just like, I'm gonna give you some now, and then we'll see, because we're right here, and she'll see you right away.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good approach. I did like small little peanut butter doses, and I was like, well, the doctor's like 5-7 minutes away. It's a quick drive. But with that, like with the overnight oats, that saved us, because it was an easy, put it in the fridge, Tupperware or a little mason jar. And then that day, like pull it out and put in whatever we need to put in. And then he was good to go. Then that kept him regular. That also introduced different textures to him. So that was one thing I was worried about, because if I'm constantly giving him smooth
that's what he's gonna expect.
They'll be like,
yeah.
Which he did. He's still like, sometimes I give him new things and he's like,
yeah.
And then he tastes it. And he's like, oh, this is good. Let me get more. But he still questions it. Like he'll take it out and he'll look at it and he'll be like, okay. So it's all trial and error, But I think starting off with what you guys eat in your house, because that way you don't feel like you're wasting food or you're just like buying things to try because an app told me to. And that helps me a lot. Like I've given him ground turkey, like his staple meals right now. Morning, like we have like an egg frittata that I make for him. So it'll be spinach, zucchini, carrots, eggs, obviously, kale, and all that stuff put together. And then sometimes I'll put a little bit of avocado.
That sounds good.
Lunch. Yeah, I eat it too. So I'm like, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for him, right? And then lunch will be either brown rice with quinoa and like chicken or turkey. And then, or like a bagel, like a whole wheat bagel toast with avocado or something. I'll switch it up depending on his mood. And then nighttime could be anything from soup, again, brown rice, beans, or whatever other protein I'll have there. And he'll eat it all. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and I put all the seasonings on it and he eats it. I'm like, thank God. But I know it's going to change. I know this. Like, I'm going to enjoy it now while he doesn't question what I'm feeding him. And, you know, before he gets to an age where he's like, I don't want that. And I'm like, you just ate this yesterday. Like I know it turns into that. But how do you tackle that, like, challenge? Because I know you're going through with
she
Sienna.
doesn't eat anything but nuggets, chicken nuggets, unfortunately. right now,
yeah.
It's the only thing, like butter pasta. That's it. I mean, I tried to sneak in like a different type of pasta, maybe do like chickpea pasta. Or like the ones that are like veggie ones or whatever. And but she knows the difference. So it's like
they taste different.
5, so it's not like, you know, I can do anything too crazy. She doesn't like any sauce on her stuff, so it's just like
no red sauce, not white sauce,
no green
nothing.
sauce, no nothing. She's weird. It's just not. It doesn't go. And I'm like, I don't know how else to give her some variation. So I mean, she barely eats any like vegetable at all.
Okay.
And it's like, it's not like I don't cook vegetables. I have like peppers, onions, carrots, celery. She doesn't like it. She'll sniff it and she'll be like, no, I don't like it. I'm like, how do you know? You haven't even tasted it.
What about like a casserole? Have you ever done like a casserole dish?
She She will not budge. I put whatever in front of her and she'll be like, I'm not eating this. And it's like, you know, she needs to eat. So it's just like, I would rather feed her what she wants. And I know people are probably going to be like, no, make her eat. But my mom used to do that to me. And I feel like
that's not helpful.
It doesn't make you feel good because you're eating something you don't like and you feel like crap afterwards because you're just like getting that, you have to shove that in your mouth because your parents are going to beat the shit out of you for not eating it, right?
Oh yeah. I have a story about that. So no, it's you always drag my stories. No. I the age range must have been, because this was before we moved to DR. So I was like 5 to like 8, right around that age range. My mom would try and force me to eat rice, beans, and ground beef. I've never been a fan of like beef. Like I always loved chicken. That was my thing. And I'm like, no, I want chicken. She's like, no, eso es lo que yo cociné. That's what you have to eat. And so she would put the plate out and she's like, you can't come out of here until you eat. And I was like, all right, eventually. And I lived on the 5th floor of my Bronx apartment and there was a window there. Eventually, what I discovered is that I can throw the food out the window and act like I ate it. And so that's what I would do. So I know my mom and I eventually spoke about this, like when I was in my 20s. I was like, did you know that I would toss it out because this went on for months, right? And then one time we were in the elevator of the building and we saw a notice, please stop feeding the pigeons, like the birds, human food. And I told my mom, I was like, you remember when we lived in this apartment that there was this notice that the super he kept putting it up. And they were like, who keeps throwing these like rice and beans like, meals out the window?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
But that was the way that I got out of it.
Garbage, because most of the time we had the garbage in the kitchen where we would eat at the dinner table. And I would like hear if my mom was coming and I would dig into the garbage, throw it all the way at the bottom,
to like try
and
it,
top with the other stuff, and then sit down for a while and just wait. Yeah, that's how I would do it. She was very she would try to like be what's the word for it? I'm trying to think. Like she would try new recipes a lot, and it wasn't always the best idea. Think about this. One day she boiled octopus. That whole smell got into the house, and she made it with rice. Oof. Like boiled octopus with rice mixed in. And I remember this distinctly because I was like, I am not eating this shit. And I remember looking over at my dad thinking, this poor man has to eat this shit. And he said, and I remember talking to him about this like recently. And he's like, no, I ate it. It was good. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It was good. It smelled horrible. Horrible. So I remember throwing that out in the garbage distinctively and sitting there going, I'm going to have to go sneak some crackers later.
That's so funny. See, kids will always find a way to get out of it. So I'm a big believer in like when Derek and I get to that stage, I'm going to figure out what he likes to eat.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be giving her. Pasta.
Oh, then I stepped up my game. When we were living in DR, I just remembered this. That was when we were living with my dad there, right? So I remember he was giving me like an orange or something, and I didn't want it. Like, I don't want this orange. Don't force me to eat it. And I remember he was like, fine. And like, he put me in the bathroom. Like, you're not coming out of here until you eat this. Okay. So I took the freaking gajos, the strips of orange. I pushed them down the sink. I didn't do the toilet. I don't know why, not looking back. But I pushed them down the sink hole. And then that caused the plumbing issue, which they had to like come and get fixed.
Pull out the oranges?
And they...
Oh my God.
Yeah. They found out. They found out about it. I don't remember that much. I think my mom was the one that was kind of like in charge of, that. And I told her, like, yeah, I didn't want to eat it. And I just put it down there. So I don't think he ever really found out. But yeah, so yeah, kids are going to find a way.
That's why I'm like, whatever, I'll just give you the pasta if you want. And then like Milo, he eats whatever we make. So I just like, if I have rice, fish, shrimp, beef, chicken,
You're big on seafood, huh?
Well, yeah, I think I don't like beef either. It's not a thing for me. Like, actually, yesterday, Vic cooked some steak for himself because I don't eat it. I don't like it.
Do the kids?
Oh, yeah. That's one thing Sienna actually will eat. She'll have a piece of beef, but it has to be a certain way. I think she only eats it like a hamburger patty. So it has to be ground beef. And then, she'll eat it like that. But Milo eat it too, but I think he's more of a chicken guy because he's like, chicken.
Yeah.
So
are they picky with like the type of chicken? Like pechuga, like breast only, thigh?
So we only buy breast, and it has to be thin.
So do we.
Like the thin slice.
If it's not thin, I cut it really, really thin.
That's how it is here. So that's the only thing that we eat here. I don't do like thighs or any of that stuff. I don't like dark meat. It's not my thing.
Wings, I can't. I'm like, what's the point? This is all like tendons and bones and like skin. Yeah, but that was one thing definitely like with Tom and I, like he doesn't like that either. We're not big seafood people either. So I never really make it. But occasionally I'm like, I'm in the mood for salmon or flounder
so we have a good
or
variation
something.
of that. We'll do salmon, cod, shrimp, and what else?
Bacalao.
Yeah, we do the cod, but I just do regular. I either make it like fish and chips, and then or I make it in tacos or blackened. That's all you're getting from me. That's the variation I have.
That's a lot of variety, though. It's a lot of variety. I can only eat bacalao if my mom makes it.
Yes, my mom makes it. It's good. I don't know how to make it. I don't know about the salted one yet because you have to like soak it. Okay. It's salted cod. Yeah. Mine is not.
So wait,
salted.
what do you?
Mine's the regular. You see?
I didn't know that existed. I've only had salty bacalao.
No, the salted cod you have to soak and you have to do some stuff to it, right? That's too much for me to think of. So I haven't tried that. No,
it's delicious.
I know it's delicious. I've had it from Vic's mom.
So my mouth is watery.
Vic's mom makes it really good. I know. She used to make that
That's
all
that
the time.
Dominican,
Yeah, it's that Dominican
the
recipe.
Dominican
Yeah.
dish.
So it's really good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I tell my mom all the time, I'm like, you got to teach me. But then our patience level doesn't allow us to cook together. But yeah, no. So it's funny. It's like my mom will cook for us and like she'll send things over. She's like, oh, dale habichuela, dale whatever. And like we'll give Derek all that. He'll eat all of it.
That's
so
good.
I'm glad I got to a point where at least that's where
Right now.
where we are right now. But yeah, I don't know what that'll turn into later on. So, but I don't know. You're more advanced than I am
by a couple
with
years,
that
yeah.
stage.
But even then,
it makes
really
all the
picky.
difference.
But I like see, I have a friend of mine, and he like takes his kid to like the Chinese food place, and she eats like wontons and dumplings, and she has sushi, and she has, and she just turned 7. I believe 7 this past February, and she eats all this stuff and so much. Like, I just love how adventurous she is with her eating, and it's like they've always fed her that way though. Like anything that they would eat,
but they eat that way though, right?
But I'm like, I did the same thing with my kid. Like she would eat whatever I had, but she's just I don't know, she's super picky, super picky.
It's just, again, personality. It's a difference in that's all it is. It's a phase. It's
Hopefully,
a phase, which again they all go through that.
She just grows out.
I know kids that only eat tomato sauce with like pasta and like chicken. That's it. It doesn't matter like anything else that you present to them. Pizza, they won't won't want it. Which is, to me, I'm like, pizza, really? But yeah, it's interesting. Like you got to try and establish those behaviors early on, but then you're kind of like, what's the point? Because they're going to change again.
Like I'm hoping,
and then they're going to kind of,
being in school, kind of like looking at other people eat other stuff. She'll be like, "Oh, Mom, I want to try such and such thing in my lunchbox." So hopefully, crossing my fingers, she changes her mind.
I think with baby-led weaning, like when do you feel like you don't have to stress anymore? Right? Like with the choking, the gagging, all that stuff. Because I'm not there yet.
I'm always watching them. Even Sienna, when she eats, it's like, sit up. Make sure you're sitting up straight. I'm watching you chew. Like, because I'm always scared they're going to choke because I don't want my kid to die when they're eating.
Of course,
And I'm just like, no, that never goes away. You're always going to be kind of like alert and watching them eat. Because they eat when they're hungry, especially when they're hungry, they're like, this is
yeah, it's like a vacuum.
No, that never goes away. You'll always be watching them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do you give them...
I'm sorry to let you know.
No. It's fine. Do you worry about candy and stuff like M&Ms?
Yeah.
Like
so that's
those
stuff
type
like
of
if
things?
I give them, like they really like little M&Ms usually. So I'll just give it to them in a little bowl. All right, here, this is all you're going to have. You need to go sit down and eat it. Sit down where I can see you. Yeah. Because sometimes the little one likes to run around. He's just like, Energizer Bunny. Let me color the walls. Oh my God.
Let me do this.
And, he's always running around. So I'm just like, sit down because I don't want you choking on this thing. Or like, once he puts it in his mouth, I'm like, bite it. And then he'll be like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to bite it immediately. And then that's how you'll eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're like going to be, it's always a thing. Always watching them.
Like I know some certain things to watch out for, like popcorn, nuts, obviously, candy, like small candy,
gummies,
gummy bears, all these things that like they're common in like kid areas. Yeah. Popcorn. Like, are you kidding me? So like, do you popcorn, have the kids eating?
Sienna didn't eat popcorn till she was 5 recently. Because I was scared because I've heard stories about inhaling popcorn and getting stuck in your lungs and all that. And unfortunately, I tried with Milo, but he sees her and he's like, so I have to make him sit down also and then give him the kernels. And I'd be looking at them. I'll inspect them.
You're training him though with chew it
right away. Like, and then, but I like look at the kernels and make sure it's fully popped. So I just pick them out. Right. It takes an extra mile to do that, but I pick them out and make sure like the little seeds are not inside wherever he's eating. Because, if they grab the seed, they could choke on that too. So it's so
much. Gummy
Yeah.
bears, right? What do you do with
I
gummy
also have to
bears
make
if
him
they're
sit and
like,
chew right away. He was choking on one the other day. Remember I told you, I was like, he was choking on a gummy bear. And he was
no,
like,
I don't.
I was like, oh yeah, like, I told you to sit down. I had to like grab my finger and I hooked it out from,
Try and like
because it
pop
was
it
like
out.
stuck on the top of his mouth or something. I don't know.
Oh,
That's another thing.
ugh,
If he eats like
it's
bananas
terrifying.
and he mushes it on his mouth, it
Yeah.
gets stuck to the top of the mouth a lot. And he'd be like,
Yeah.
doing that. And I'm like, stop, don't do that. Like, you're scaring me when you make that noise. So then I
Yeah.
have to go in with
Yeah.
like tissue in my finger and just scrape it out, which is the most disgusting thing ever.
Did you ever think you'd be at this point in life, like looking at these dirty diapers and not eating mustard and scraping chewed
No,
food
but
out
I
of a
always think
kid's
about it
mouth?
and I laugh because I'm like, I've become my mom.
Yeah. Like, come
Yeah,
here.
come here.
Come here. You have something on your,
With the fingers.
you have
doing
dried
this.
boogers on your, right now, because we're all congested, right? We're all still like fighting off the cold. Derek had like dried up boogers on his
Yeah, I know.
and I'm over here trying to like wipe it off, and he's like,
I know.
I'm like,
So,
whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like I go to like try and kiss him to try and like distract him, and then I'm like, gotcha, and like I'll try and like rub it off that way. But what is it with they like? I don't know about you with the kids, but they don't. Derek doesn't let me
wipe it.
like
No, I
clean
get the
his
same
nose.
attitude from
Okay.
homeboy over here.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Sienna's fine because she's 5. She could blow her nose. I'm still trying to teach him how to blow his nose into a tissue so he could be able to get the congestion out.
What tactics do
I
you
told him
use
to blow on the tissue like this on the table, but like do it with your nose. So he goes, yeah,
Okay.
he does it. He started to do it, but like I'm like harder, but he ends up doing it backwards and snorts it in. And I'm like, no, but keep trying. So,
But that's a good,
that way
he's getting there.
Get all the boogers out that way. Yeah. That was a trick.
Okay,
I don't
he's
even know where I
getting
picked that up. Somebody said how to blow I think I looked it up. How to get your kid to blow his nose.
To blow their
Because
nose.
I don't remember what I did for Sienna. I think she just picked it up. Eventually started blowing her nose, but I don't know. I was like, all right, do the tissue trick and we'll see where that goes.
Is that similar to what people do with teaching them how to swim? You know, like holding their breath.
I have no
when they're
idea.
swimming?
I have to get the kids into swimming. I don't know. We don't swim. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. You're not there yet. I feel like I want to put him in all that stuff eventually, but I'm so scared of like the breathing part of it, you know. But I see all these babies that get thrown into the water.
Well, my thing is, since I've waited so long, don't project your like the whole you're scared and nervous for him. Don't project it on him. Don't so
on
just
him,
like be like, you do great, and then just take him. Just go for it because
Do you know how to swim?
I don't.
Okay. Vic either, right?
I don't. It's impossible for him. So, no, I don't. And I mean, I could barely float. I can't get it together. We did like a little pool in the back. Sienna likes it. She started to kind of learn with one of her friends because she has a pool in her house and used to go to her grandparents' house to learn. She kind of likes it, and she gets scared a little bit, you know, but she's learning. Yeah. And Milo just likes the water, so we're trying. Yeah. I'm trying not to project my fears and nervousness on him and her, because then they pick up on it and then they're like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't learn," you know. So that's a big thing.
Like when you're like, "Oh, be careful for the dog. The dog's gonna."
Yeah, because my parents were like that.
It's a lot.
Kind of like try to calm down a little bit and just be like, "Oh, it's okay. You're fine. You're doing great."
As we're learning how to parent, we're also learning how to be a parent and how to like control our
emotions
inner, emotions and all of that. Like, don't freak out. Don't, when they're gagging or something, which is so hard.
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch, when you're feeding your kids and they're like, what? I was like, they're fine. They're fine. They're going to learn. They have to learn how to eat. That's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I think we covered a lot with the baby-led weaning and beyond.
And everything
and beyond some other stuff here. One thing I will say, formula was a little scary too, right? Because you can make it thick, like by accident, like if you don't put enough water and all that stuff. So it's always something to be mindful, make sure to, I stopped shaking the bottle when I was doing formula. I would stir it because it created less bubbles. And it also made sure that there was no blobs of like
I remember that. I learned that the second time around.
Still there. Yeah. So that was one thing that I eventually was like, oh, this is so much easier like this way, and less gas bubbles, which causes less issues for the baby. So no, that's my last little tidbit on that. But solid starts. Like, we're not being promoted or anything by them, but I highly recommend that app because it helped me. Every new mom that I like met at the library and all that stuff, I would tell them, because they're like, how does he eat so well? And I'm like, this app right here saved our lives. Do you have any other like last minute like tips? Like,
don't give your kids rice or what is it, rice cereal or anything in the bottle. Don't do that.
In the bottle. I didn't do that.
Unless it's
I didn't do that.
Something the doctor tells you that you have to do for whatever reason. But don't do that.
Yeah. But if it's just your mom saying,
telling you, give him coffee.
That's what we did. Give him coffee.
No, give them cereal in their milk or whatever. Don't do it. It's a choking hazard most of the time. So
most of the time, yeah. But yeah, this has been the episode on breastfeeding /
baby-led weaning and everything in between.
Baby-led weaning and everything in between. Thank you guys for listening. Feel free to share your tips as well, and help us out. Like, tell us what next topic we should cover. If you have anything in mind that you want us, or maybe something that you want us to elaborate a little bit more on, let us know. And as always, thank you for listening.
And remember, you're doing a good job. You're a good mom. That's right.
Yeah. There you go.
Remember that.
That's gonna have to be our closing motto.
Remember,
our closing motto. Yeah.
Job.
See, I feel like you're talking to me. I appreciate that because you're pointing. No. Yes. That's the most important thing. You are doing a good job. All right. Thank you guys, and see you next episode. Bye.